Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. The wind howling across the Antarctic Peninsula carries with it a deceptive promise of purity. For centuries, we have viewed the icy expanses at the bottom of the world as the ultimate untouched frontier, a pristine wilderness supposedly shielded from the heavy hand of human industry by treacherous oceans and lethal temperatures. But if you peer closely at the mossy, moisture-rich fringes of the continent, where the ice gives way to sparse, rocky terrestrial ecosystems, a different and much more unsettling narrative emerges. Here, in the microscopic world of the soil, the footprint of the Anthropocene has arrived. It has arrived in the form of microplastics, and it has infiltrated the bellies of the most resilient, bizarre, and isolated extremophile insects on our planet. Let us dive into exactly how this happened and what it means for the future of Earth's most fragile environments. To understand the sheer gravity of this synthetic invasion, we first need to meet the native rulers of the Antarctic soil. When you think of Antarctica, you might picture penguins or seals, but Antarctica actually hosts virtually no permanent terrestrial animals of significant size. There are no land mammals, there are no reptiles, there are no amphibians. Instead, the true monarchs of the frozen dirt are arthropods. Chief among them is Belgica antarctica. This is a wingless, non-biting midge, no larger than a single grain of rice, and it holds the highly prestigious title of the continent's only native insect. Accompanying this tiny ruler in the damp moss beds is Cryptopygus antarcticus, a minuscule springtail or columbolan that serves as a central load-bearing gear in the region's terrestrial food web. These creatures are not merely survivors. Entomologists classify them as extremophiles, which is a term reserved for biological marvels that have evolved to withstand a barrage of lethal environmental stressors that would absolutely obliterate almost any other form of life. Take the larvae of Belgica antarctica, for example. These larvae remain in their juvenile stage for up to 2 years. During this time, they can endure being frozen entirely solid for months on end. They can survive severe dehydration that reduces their total body water by up to 70%. They can tolerate extreme swings in temperature, incredibly high soil salinity, and intense blasts of ultraviolet radiation. When the punishing Antarctic winter sets in, these insects do not perish. Instead, they rely on profound metabolic adaptations to enter a state of suspended animation, essentially waiting out the endless darkness until the brief summer thaws the ice. However, this legendary toughness was forged over millions of years of rigorous natural selection. It never prepared them for the sudden, pervasive arrival of synthetic polymers. So how does plastic reach the ends of the Earth? The journey of microplastics, which are fragments smaller than 5 millimeters, is a profound testament to the inescapable interconnectivity of our global ecosystems. These particles do not just magically appear. They are shed by the degradation of our synthetic clothing, the constant abrasion of rubber car tires on distant highways, and the breakdown of plastic bags, bottles, and commercial fishing gear. Once released into the environment, they are caught in powerful atmospheric currents or carried along vast oceanic conveyor belts. These microscopic invaders travel thousands of miles and eventually precipitate out in the Antarctic snow. They drift ashore in ocean foam, or they are deposited directly by local human activity, including the growing tourism industry and even scientific research operations. Once in the Antarctic environment, these plastics settle into the algae and moss beds. Tragically, these are the exact foraging grounds of the continent's extremophile insects. The first major crack in the illusion of Antarctic terrestrial purity appeared back in 2020. An Italian research team, led by ecologist Elisa Bergami and toxicologist Ilaria Corsi, made a sobering discovery along the shores of the Fildes Peninsula on King George Island. They found a large, stranded piece of expanded polystyrene foam. This foam was heavily colonized by microalgae, moss, and lichens. This floating piece of human debris had essentially become a toxic buffet for the local microfauna. Now, detecting plastics inside tiny carbon-based organisms is notoriously difficult, but the team developed an innovative, highly advanced method. They used enzymatic digestion paired with advanced microfourier transform infrared spectroscopy, utilizing the cutting-edge electrosynchrotron Trieste facility. This incredible technological approach allowed them to unequivocally detect polystyrene fragments measuring less than 100 micrometers deep within the digestive tracts of the springtail Cryptopygus antarcticus. This was a massive watershed moment for science. It provided the very first field-based evidence that microplastics had successfully entered the Antarctic terrestrial food web, fundamentally shifting the global scientific focus from ocean pollution to the hidden, silent contamination of polar soils. Yet, the discovery within the springtail was only the beginning of a much larger story. In a groundbreaking study published in early 2026 in the journal Science of the Total Environment, a global research coalition revealed that Belgica antarctica, the continent's toughest native insect, was also actively consuming microplastics in the wild. This extensive project was spearheaded by researchers from the University of Kentucky, including entomologist Nicholas Tietz and lead author Jack Devlin. Devlin's interest in the subject was actually initially sparked by watching a documentary on the global plastic crisis. This led him to pose a crucial, haunting question regarding these unique Antarctic insects. He asked, does that incredible toughness protect them from a new stress, like microplastics, or does it make them vulnerable to something they have never seen before? To answer this vital question, the team embarked on a comprehensive two-phased investigation. The first part was the field phase, conducted during a 2023 research cruise along the western Antarctic Peninsula. This involved painstakingly collecting wild midge larvae from 20 diverse locations spread across 13 different islands. Working once again with microplastic specialist Elisa Bergami and imaging expert Giovanni Berarda, the research team utilized both infrared and Raman spectroscopy to peer inside the microscopic guts of the collected wild specimens. Out of 40 wild larvae analyzed, 2 were found to contain synthetic polymer fragments. These fragments included materials commonly associated with packaging, textiles, and commercial fishing gear. Now, a 5% ingestion rate might seem relatively low when compared to heavily polluted urban ecosystems, but discovering absolutely any plastic within the only native insect of the world's most remote continent is an undeniable, blaring warning sign. As Jack Devlin astutely noted, you work with this incredible little insect that lives where there are no trees, barely any plants, and you still find plastic in its gut. That really brings home exactly how widespread this problem is. While the undeniable presence of microplastics in wild populations confirmed their exposure, the researchers desperately needed to understand the actual biological consequences. What was this plastic doing to them? This led to the laboratory phase of the investigation. In the lab, midge larvae were exposed to varying concentrations of microplastic beads for a 10-day period. Initially, the results seemed like a spectacular testament to the insect's legendary resilience. Even at high concentrations, levels that far exceed current natural contamination found in Antarctica, the larvae simply did not die. Their basic metabolic rates remained remarkably steady, and on the surface, short-term exposure did not appear to disrupt their core physiological processes. However, as any biologist will tell you, mere survival is not the same thing as thriving. The researchers soon uncovered a hidden, highly insidious cost to this plastic consumption. Further, deeper analysis revealed that larvae exposed to high levels of plastic particles suffered a significant decrease in their fat reserves. You have to understand that in the unforgiving, brutal climate of Antarctica, fat is the ultimate currency of survival. Lipids are essential energy stores. They are the only thing that sustains the midges through the long, dark, freezing months of the Antarctic winter, when they are trapped in a completely frozen state. By filling their tiny digestive tracts with nutritionally void plastic, the larvae may be experiencing what is known as a false sense of satiation. They feel full, so they end up eating less of their actual organic food. At the same time, they are likely expending extra, precious energy attempting to process or pass these completely indigestible synthetic materials. This severe energetic drain could leave them critically unprepared for the deep freeze. If they enter winter without enough fat, they will not survive until spring. This phenomenon could easily cascade into severe long-term population declines, as global pollution levels continue to steadily rise. The implications of these scientific findings extend far beyond the isolated fate of a single extremophile species. The terrestrial ecosystems of the Antarctic Peninsula are exceptionally simple. They are characterized by extremely low biodiversity and incredibly short food chains. In environments like this, every single species plays a massive load-bearing role. Belgica antarctica and Cryptopygus antarcticus are not just bugs. They're the primary drivers of nutrient cycling for the entire region. They act as the biological recyclers of the ice. They break down decaying algae, moss, and penguin guano, and by doing so, they return vital life-sustaining nutrients to the sparse, rocky soil. Under optimal conditions, their populations can be astoundingly dense. You can find up to 40,000 midge larvae per single square meter in optimal damp moss patches. They are the true foundation of this soil ecosystem. If microplastic pollution permanently compromises their lipid reserves, their overall fitness, and their reproductive success, the efficiency of the entire soil nutrient recycling system could plummet. While it is true that these extremophile insects have very few natural terrestrial predators, a severe decline in their populations could still indirectly devastate the fragile polar flora and the avian life that entirely depend on a balanced, nutrient-rich soil ecosystem to survive. Because of its relative ecological simplicity, Antarctica serves as an unparalleled natural laboratory for science. Jack Devlin explained this perfectly when he stated that Antarctica gives us a simpler ecosystem to ask very focused questions. He noted that if we pay attention right now, we might learn critical lessons that apply far beyond the polar regions. This distinct simplicity makes polar entomology a unique and powerful bellwether for the rest of the planet. Ultimately, the discovery of entomological plastic pollution in Antarctica completely destroys the enduring myth of the untouched sanctuary. It provides a sobering microscopic lens through which we must view the escalating global environmental crisis. The undeniable fact that synthetic polymers, manufactured in bustling metropolitan centers thousands of miles away, can navigate global atmospheric currents and vast oceanic gyres, only to end up inside the microscopic gut of a 2-millimeter midge at the South Pole, is a profound testament to the terrifying reach of human influence. These tiny polyextremophiles have survived ancient ice ages, brutal solar radiation, and the absolute harshest winters on Earth. Now, against their will, they are serving as the ultimate biomonitors for a brand new geological epoch. The deep infiltration of microplastics into the Antarctic terrestrial food web is an early warning system. It is a desperate plea from the very bottom of the world, indicating that when it comes to plastic pollution, there is simply no such thing as throwing something away, and absolutely nowhere on this planet is truly out of reach. Thank you for tuning in to G Fun Facts Online. Keep exploring and stay curious.